copies of this stuff?
Another one? Oh, which?
I think I've noticed it.
Well, because we, none of
Oh,
us.
but I didn't, yeah, she's getting them right now.
Oh, okay.
So then, sorry.
So, folks, just joined us, tonight's, April 8th, budget meeting. We're just getting started. We're having a few technical difficulties with some of our technology. So we're just getting that cleared up. And then we'll get into, the main, crux of this meeting, which is to review where we're at, in the 2025, budget.
The financial.
This one, it'll have to be minus a couple pages because I have notes. Yep. Capital budget. I think that's all I want.
No, it's okay, it's fine. Unless you don't want to zero.
Want my iPad, Laura? Do you want my iPad?
No, I am okay because I can access my original
Okay.
documents from the server. I just can't seem to get an internet connection. That's
Okay, folks, just to give you a heads up, we're having some technical issues, in the office. We've lost all Wi-Fi connection, so how we actually access the meetings are all online. And unfortunately, we're struggling, so we're going back to some of us on old school and looking at paper, some are hotspotted off their phones, so we will go from there, so,
Okay, so I apologize, it seems that some things are out of order in the agenda, so I'd actually like to touch on the Egg Society first. They were here at the last council meeting and I supplied you guys with a copy of the slideshow and their sponsorship package, which I'm not sure if you have a printed version of what you have in front of you, because some of that stuff was pretty lengthy, but I wanted to go back to it as there are some really good things in their sponsorship package to see if council wants to add any of these to the budget.
Sponsorship package,
I'm sorry?
sponsorship package, where you're going first?
Yeah, you can, the slideshow was just for information so that council can see what they did do.
Yeah.
Kind of the things that, you know, their highlights and whatnot, but the sponsorship package is where we'll find how we can, I think, help them the most. At the last meeting, they also mentioned some capital plans that they would like to touch on in the next year, 2 years, even 3 years, it sounded like. So I don't know if council wants to put aside money to help them in the future for that.
I'm okay with in the future putting aside some money, but I'd like to see them actually come in with a little better presentation in regards to that.
Into the capital side,
Yeah.
okay, I will touch base with them on that.
And we did the charts last year and the chariot signage. That's why it's highlighted, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch what you said.
The chuck wagon charts and the chariot signage, that's what we sponsored last year. That's why it's highlighted? Or no?
I don't know exactly what we sponsored, it could, that could have been, yeah. We gave them $1,000, pardon me, so that could be what they put it towards, yeah.
Okay.
How many devices can you hotspot?
you can hotspot. Yeah, it's kind of hard to, I mean, I guess. What is council looking at on the sponsorship? Do we want to do, I know we were talking $1,500, $2,000. Do we just want to do that and just let staff decide, let the administration decide where's best to go and just put the money aside?
So 2,000?
We currently have 1,000 in the budget for that,
Okay, 1,000 then?
but if you'd like to increase it to 2, then that's just an increase of $1,000.
What do you guys want to do?
That's what we
It's a good thing for the community, for sure. It'll close the town and brings a lot of people in.
I don't mind a couple of $1,000. I'm then wondering if there's an opportunity for us to provide some in-kind services as well, sort of like what we do at Trappers. You know, and see if there's some opportunity to provide some support there as well.
So 1,000 in kind, and then 1,000 cash, and then 1,000 in kind or more.
Yeah.
It make a lot of.
To be decided.
Yeah, that's right, they, yeah, I'm not sure. Like well, the question was if there's any in-kind services, perhaps some garbage pickup at the site, if we would get some support with that, like on Monday, so they struck down.
Did the green team assist as well? Or they had their own last year, didn't they?
I believe that's what she mentioned during her presentation.
Yeah. She said that she'd applied for a couple more again this year.
So what do you want to do for sponsorship? So 1,000, 2,000, 2,000? Do we want to just let the administration decide where it goes and go from there and not have to Okay, so we're gonna put in 2,000, and then I guess the other offer is if there's some in-kind stuff that we can do that's not tying up and taking away from our own community that we want to be able to support them. Everybody okay with that? I do want to just want to note, because this is the exact same weekend as the, Opaskwayak Indigenous Days. So have we gotten anything from them, or have we put any money in the budget for that event as well?
No, that was actually number 3 on my list. I did reach out to them and they were very happy to hear from us that we wanted to contribute. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten a sponsorship package back from them, so I didn't know if there was an amount that council just wanted to allocate, so it's there, and when the sponsorship package comes in, maybe do the same thing like what you're doing here, $2,000, and administration decides how that gets dispersed within the sponsorship.
I think that would be a good plan, and I would support that.
Okay,
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, 2,000 to, Opaskwayak Indigenous Days as well, and, administration will.
Okay.
Because that's gonna be a super busy weekend, and the spin-offs for that will be great, and I think as well, if Sam, has an opportunity that if they can, I know they're in a little bit of a different position because they have pretty well all the services we have, but if there's something that we can do, in kind as well as a community to boost those festivals, then we should do that.
And just to follow our own policy that we've tried to create, with that offer of $2,000, we should make sure we include the letter to invite them to apply for that
Yeah.
money as well.
Yeah.
Just so they
Yeah.
understand that they have applied just
Yeah.
like anybody else, so we can budget in advance.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, good point, Counselor.
Just to let them know,
Yeah.
they may not think that they would be invited to apply for that kind of money.
Yeah. Perfect.
I'll make sure I send them an application so that they have it
Yeah,
for.
even
the
just a
future.
note to say, hey, in the future,
Yeah.
please consider us to help out the program.
And I know I have some fans out there in Facebook land that I've challenged Chief Brown to another jigging contest, so don't put the sponsorship there for the winnings for that, because I don't want to take all the prize money with me with the new hip and stuff like that, so.
It goes back into general coffer then.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, good. Well, maybe it'll be almost, break here at the end of the day.
I don't think we have to worry about returning any money.
No, I don't think so, but you can always be optimistic. Okay,
Okay, so one of the other things that we talked about at the last meeting, pardon me, is Trappers Festival. They came and provided a presentation and spoke to you guys about a capital project for potentially a permanent fort. I'm just wondering if, again, there's anything you guys want to consider putting aside for them just in the next couple of budget years so that it's starting to be available when that comes time. I know you'll probably want a long-term plan, but if we start kind of allocating funds maybe into a reserve account for that, then it's available when that plan comes to fruition.
well, my thinking is where I know Rotary, we've had discussions with Rotary and they're looking for a legacy project. And I think that getting the Rotary and Trappers and the town and whoever else involved, if there's some financial contributions that we need to do, then we could do that. I don't know how much those are, and I don't know if we just wait for the next council to decide on how much money they're gonna put forward to that, because maybe that would be their legacy, I have no problems with doing it either way, but because I don't think it really matters at the end of the day.
I just soon wait till they come back with the project
Yeah.
Financial plan.
Okay,
and their financials that they were going to bring in.
Oh, that's right too, yes.
Okay.
But I think this council is supportive of doing something and being a part of some sort of legacy project with
you've asked for a summary from the Samoa Museum Director for the Richmond Collaborative redesign of the museum. So he's provided a more condensed version of the project and total costs.
So right now, if we looked at phase one, for $314,000.
That would be with the option 2 bathroom that provides the additional storage, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
just-
if we look at that and where our budget is right now, the numbers being, it's because that's not included in there right now, where we're about a mill rate or a bit, mill rate and a bit under budget. Under what our budget was, or what our mill rate was last
yeah.
year. We would see a minimal increase in taxation this year because of that?
Well, it would be minimal, but actually there's $100,000 in the reserve account that could be used against this. Lowering this down to 214, so you'd be at pretty much a 1 mil increase if you wanted to, put this through capital operations.
Well, with the amount of activity on social media around the Via Rail Station that we don't even own, and I think that the efforts that we want to make sure that we don't get ourselves into a Skippy out position again. You know, I think it's time for us to have to make some investment in these heritage buildings, as we've been talking, so I would support that. I would also challenge to see if there's any way we can pull some money out of to prioritize, to see if there's a way of adjusting spending, so we don't have
This
an increase.
this is just like right now, but it doesn't mean we aren't gonna still continue to apply for grants to
Yeah.
cover this project. So if we can even get 50% of that 214 supplied by grants, then you're looking at really only half of it, right? So.
I support that. I think that it's an important part of our community. It's an important part of our heritage here. So I would support
214 or 314?
314.
314 is the initial, but as I stated, there's
Oh, minus the
100,000.
reserve?
Yes,
Okay.
in
Okay.
reserve, if council chooses to use that for this project, that's your guys' decision, but if the option is available.
This is 314, both of these.
Yeah.
Yes, that's been received from the engineering firm of, that Bridgman Collaborative worked with, yeah.
And not to go off the rails, but only because it was brought up. I would still like to really see initiatives on improving the look of the town, not just flowers.
Yeah.
Again, coming from the south end of town or west end of town, it's not a very inviting place.
Yeah.
We're trying to invest and get developers to invest and come to the paw. I think they're turning around by 7th Street, heading back, say, we've given up on our community. I really want to see a good amount of money. Again, not to sidetrack, but seeing a 43% increase to the fire department budget, I think is unnecessary, where we could invest a lot of that money in improving our community. I was promised 6 years ago that our parks are going to be taken care of. They're not. I'd like to see a big draw to say we care about our community.
Is it more of like the downtown region or is it?
It's that first impression of the town of the Paw is not a positive one. Somehow we
Which is
need to come up with a plan and we need to allocate some money to that, as well as we've already kind of committed to, let's try to get the downtown a little more looked after. I know the CDC's looking after that a little bit, Chambers looking after that. There's different areas, but we need to make a solid investment to say, this is where you want to be, to investors, to people out of town, and to our own community to show we care.
Do you have any ideas in mind of how we can do that?
Well, there's all kinds of ideas, and I think we need to have a good brainstorming session. But again, seeing that 43% increase in one department doesn't sit well with me. And when there's so many other areas that are neglected, like I said, even a heritage building that, or could be a designated heritage building, like the Via Station, yes, we don't own it.
I think it's already designated, to be honest with you.
I think it is.
And I also, just so everybody's information, not to interrupt, Counselor. I have been speaking to the Via Rail guys since October. I think it even came up in this council meeting for me to reach out to see what they were doing. I did speak to him on Monday, and they're looking for a new owner of that building. I'm not sure the town of the Paw wants to inherit buildings where we have to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars. But we can encourage that. But I do agree with Councillor Manage, but we also have to take some pride internally as our community members, where we have derelict buildings that we've been focused on getting people to clean that up, making sure they're not boarded up windows, making sure that people that are on those roads are following the right rules. I know Sam and his crew have done a great job last year of getting all the weeds sort of getting under control, and they have that program again this year. But I do like to support what Councillor Manich is saying. You know, maybe this is a great opportunity for us to engage our community, such as we did with Canada Day, and maybe we can have a committee or something
We
that.
think back to how our town looked at our centennial. It was amazing for those 2 weeks. And then after that, everyone went back to square one.
Yeah.
So we need to set a really good, strong baseline somewhere that our departments can take it to, and then we can try to maintain.
Okay, so you guys wanted a separate committee set up to be able to do this?
Just one second.
So back to the museum,
Yeah,
Yeah,
what are we doing?
yeah, that's what I was just bringing this. So, yeah, so I think what we're doing is 314, if that's everybody's good with
The
it.
100 is coming out of reserve.
Okay,
if that's what everyone wants, yeah.
yeah,
Good.
you guys okay with that or what?
I agree with you.
14 less than 100.
And again, this is a legacy sort of project that we should really be, our community should be proud of what they're doing there.
Yeah,
So, one question, Laura, was there, like an estimated start date once this is approved, and how long would it take to do?
I was not given that information. It may have been in the original,
Mhm.
documents that were provided, but.
I think it was. I think it was. I just-
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not, that in depth in dealing with this project.
No, that's-
Okay, one of the questions that came up, around our budget discussions was I was asked if there was an early payout penalty for debentures. So the answer back from the province is that, there's usually an early payout penalties for debentures sold to the Minister of Finance. The amount, if any, depends on interest rates at the time of payout. If current rates are lower than the locked-in debenture rate, a penalty is typically added to the payout. But if current rates are higher, Manitoba Finance will generally not charge a penalty.
Yeah, I don't know what's the word there, but anyways, it was just curiosity if there was a big savings there.
It doesn't sound like there will be, and honestly, our rates are so low on the debentures that,
I'm skeptical of Manitoba Finance, they, not to go off subject, but $200,000 for a clinic that'll save maybe 40 years to collect that, and then they'll give $300,000 to the Jets to have vital parties. And then a question their priorities. Sorry about that.
Yeah, good point.
I was not aware of that. Interesting. Okay, okay, so going to the financial plan,
This one.
I don't have all that stuff. I'm like.
I'll get to that, Gary. Yeah, unless you want to deal with it now. There's just been some minor changes since the last meeting. Some of them are donations based on our last discussions. The recycling grant amount was lowered from, originally I had 192, that was from the original proposed budget that was given to me very, very early, down to 189, which is what has been supplied now. One of the things that I would like to know is if council is in support of this amount. I don't believe Recycling Center has presented yet to council.
No, they haven't.
Fine, keep off for now, move along. I don't know if they're gonna come and make the presentation for a variety of reasons, and given the written form. I guess if we have questions about any of that, we could forward those on to the reps to find out, but overall. I know the increases have gone to the other parties as well, they've already paid in full. Negotiation is around 85 or 89, something like that. They've paid in full, we've done it in advance. I think the RM has either paid in full or done it in advance. The recycling has struggled. If you go to look at the facility, there's capital has been ignored over the last, well, since they built it. Proper running water, washroom facilities, all of that, the working environment is questionable. I'm sure if there was an audit done on that, it would be, the recycling center would have to be spending quite a bit of money to have a proper water service put in. They talked to the RM about having direct water brought in. If it goes to, I think Bershides, then there's a possibility it would go up to, as far as recycling, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. What they really need out there on the capital, so they need a lot of things in capital, office supplies, office equipment, a water tank, building outside to put the water tank in, and goes on and on and on. At the end of the day, it's a bit of an increase from last year. There isn't anywhere on here that I can see that it's being abused or money being ill spent. And at the end of the day, one of the premises of recycling when it started was to increase the longevity of our landfill. And that's what it does.
How many tons do they recycle every year?
I could answer that.
Oh. So do they have a long-term plan to increase revenues or actually impact,
No,
decrease their costs? Because what I see, and this is what concerns me about this, is that we had asked last year, the year before, to bring us a plan on how you're planning on operating this this operation, because in reality, if you look at it as a business, it's a $350,000 bill annually. If you take their revenues, they don't make enough money to cover their expenses.
I think there's recreation.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that. But we also sat here with recreation, with all due respect, Counselor, and asked them what they're doing to increase their revenues. And the recreation guy was here. So all I'm asking for, just as it was promised a year ago and promised a year before that, is come and tell us what your plan is. And then also tell us that, well, how are you operating any differently than you are today, than you were last year, and what your improvement plan is? I'm not against recycling, and I don't think anybody at council is, but I am, and it's our responsibility to have governance of municipal funds. And that is where we need to understand how that's being managed. Just like we sit here and we pick the heck out of something on a washing machine or a pager, and which is a few $1,000s, and we're willing to just put forward $200,000 without really understanding all the details of it. And on top of that, the people that we entrust to do that won't come and explain to us what they're doing. It's not, I don't think council is gonna say, no, we're not giving you any money, but help us understand your operation. And I know everybody says that's everybody's responsibility. I have been here for 6 years or 7 years or however long it is now. I've never heard, I've never understood what they're doing. We've been told one story about don't sort. We've been told you have to sort. I've heard that it costs more. I heard it doesn't cost, but I have got zero facts as governance of this community's funds to understand if that's a good decision or not. That's all I'm asking. Am I gonna hold up my personal vote, hold up the budget because I can't agree with this? No, of course not. Because it's a small part of it. But I think it's irresponsible of us not to get that information. And that's all I'm gonna say about recycling.
I don't disagree with anything you've said. Now that you're on the recycling board, you'll probably get.
Well, but even on top of that, I've asked where the meetings are. Nobody tells me when a meeting is. I've asked for the AGM stuff. I asked for the operating guidelines. I get nothing. So I don't know what it means to be on that board. There
is some definite challenges. Can't disagree.
So anyways, I'm not gonna.
No, I understand, and I've asked similar questions, and if it was a business, it would not be profitable. There isn't any way to make it profitable. You're trying to increase the collection. Some of that is through education, goes on and on and on. But
I'm not saying it's gonna be profitable.
No,
I understand that. Lots of things are not profitable. But I also would like to understand what we're doing to reduce our expenses, so we're less of an expense.
Yeah.
And what are we doing to improve the operation? Like, I don't see in this, we provided a truck for I don't know how many months. Where is that, like, in this numbers? Like, how does that get incorporated in here? I see $10,000 for equipment replacement. I thought that the reserve stayed in, like it says, rep reserve. Like, I thought we were the reserve. I know, because we just paid the truck the last time out of our capital.
We gave them a partial capital donation, yeah.
and
Yeah, no, but how does it work before? Like, they never carried a reserve fund.
They did, yeah.
They do?
point they did.
Yeah,
Okay.
they did, and they had a reserve fund, and then it was used up for general operations to help cover the deficits.
No, I agree, there's lots of questions.
I look forward to
I think it's irresponsible to support it. going forward, but there is things we need somebody has to come make the presentation, answer the questions that you're posing and explain it so as we're all up to speed. I agree with you, sort, not to sort, we can pull two different things. But again, I'm not the manager out there. I don't have the internal workings of how it works.
I don't either.
There is challenges there with equipment, staff, stuff that's coming in. All of that, there's a lot of challenges, so I'm hoping, working on the board with you, that we can assist, and I know Sam is a member at large, and hopefully we can.
But on top of that, just it's maybe a different discussion and outside of budget, but did we commit to have a staff or two staff persons on that board for here in Everett today?
They're not there as a staff member, they're doing the work when they go to the meeting once a month, or whatever the meetings are. They did, both of the gentlemen did work on there to get it up to speed when there was possibility of closing. They're done with that. Now they're doing.
So there's no involvement in the day-to-day or week-to-week, month to month?
Other than, I think, Sam he's a signer, he'll be signing checks, but he don't have to be sign checks in advance, there's two signatures required, so he'll be doing that, but, not a chair, not anything like that. It's not taken away from any town.
I want that as well. I agree with everything Mayor Murphy's saying, that we should have the manager here, but at the end of the day, we are a funder, but we're not their manager. They are an arm's length group. We are not their boss. It's wrong that the general manager isn't here. I think because we've had so many questions, it is good just for the relationship alone to help us understand. But at the end of the day, they're just another contractor who we tend to fund as a group. So it's up to the board to present that information and bring that information and work as a group to let council know, not necessarily the general manager. The general manager answers to the board, not to this council. And I think that is forgotten because of the fact that we help fund it.
The library code.
We
Yeah, but the library she doesn't work for us. Same thing.
do a lot
She
more than
comes
we,
here.
our payroll runs them, like they distributed their payroll, they use our building. There's a different dynamic is all I'm saying.
So,
Just one second, Councilor Allen.
No, that's my thought as well. We expect somebody, whether it's the general manager, the chairperson, or we expect somebody from everybody we fund to basically to come here and present to us. We even expect places like the Aid Society and whatnot to come and present to us to ask for $2,000. We have heard nothing on this, and we've asked questions, we've invited them to meetings, our staff doesn't get a response on requests to come to a meeting. Don't even get a no, we don't get a response. And this is from us, $190,000, and we're just basically the attitude is hand it over. And I don't agree with that. I'm not saying that we shouldn't hand it over. I'm not saying that the amount being requested is incorrect in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying that it's pretty honestly appalling that it's the attitude is here's the bill, just hand it over.
yeah, there's some personnel issues there with that, but again, I agree 100% with you. Us as council should be addressing the board, as council manager says, the chair of the board, wherever that may be, and bring them forward. In the meantime, this amount is in the budget.
It is.
We all have questions, like surrounding building insurance. Last year budgeted was 8,500. Actual was 1,700. This year is budgeted at 10,000. I thought that their insurance is falling under us.
It is.
Okay,
That's a charge.
okay, so
we charge.
that's what it's
what we
going
can
to,
charge
that's
back to them.
actual.
I don't recall it being quite that high, but I'd have to double check my emails going back
Okay.
to the director. I don't recall.
because it's,
I believe I sent emails out to the council members that were on the board. I believe Gary, you responded saying to move ahead, and I supplied a cost, but I can't remember what the cost was off the top of my head. That was only for a partial year too, if I remember correctly.
I had another question that would have surrounded the freight as well. Last year actual was 30,000. This year it's saying 35,000. Fuel's gone down. Carbon tax will be taken off of every single pro bill, and it's reading 3 semis a month. So,
That was prepared before the carbon tax came off.
but what I'm saying is like this budget isn't necessarily, and I get it.
Yeah.
Like that was April 1st when it came out, but there's just some things that the numbers just don't necessarily
Could we
work
put
right.
we're not saying no, but we put a
Yeah.
hold on it.
I think we support it. I mean, so we're nickel and diming this thing to death, just like we do with other departments.
It should be here
Yes.
to explain.
But at the end of the day, our expectation to anybody we fund on any bills that we pay, they should give us an opportunity for us to understand what they're doing and what they're doing to make it better. So our expenses are lower. We're not gonna cancel recycling, just like we're not gonna cancel the fire department, we're not gonna cancel recreation. It's an important part, it's a pillar in our community, but I don't think they should be working in isolation when we're paying the $200,000 bill.
Agreed.
Should we be sending out a letter to all the organizations we're supporting?
No,
They all come except
They all
this
come
one.
except this one.
Uh,
I mean, the other thing is that, you know, the recycling center, you know, this is where we maybe, once I become a board member, if I ever understand when there's a meeting gonna be. But what's the service levels that are required that come there? Because I don't know how many other people get complaints, but I probably receive 1 or 2 complaints, you know, every couple of weeks about lack of service. And I don't know what the details is, and as council manages, I don't wanna know. But why are they coming up continuously, just like, you know, what's the process that gets addressed? Because our community members are paying $200,000 or close to it for a service. And they should be seeing the value coming back to them for that service.
And they should be seeing the loads of garbage that they have to pick up to take to the dump.
Yeah.
People put in there.
No, absolutely. No, absolutely. I mean, I'm not
So
saying it's
can we
perfect.
leave that amount in there for now? There's a couple of questions that we just mentioned, the insurance costs, if the town is paying them, which we are.
But we will go back to them.
So we need to get a firm number on that. It's only a few dollars.
Yeah.
But it's that and the tax, the fuel costs and freight or whatever, just little things we'll twig at the next board meeting. But in the meantime, we're consensus that we move ahead, figure that's in there for now. If anything, it'll go down.
Is that the general consensus, council?
Yeah. But I think also just to add one last thing is I just remembered, if we do have a bunch of work-related issues out there where they don't have the appropriate equipment or conditions, that should be fixed. And the 3 funders should go back and make it right, because we don't want anybody to be working in an environment that is not appropriate.
Yeah, 100%. Health and safety needs to.
I think the town of the Paul offered above and beyond, like when the issues came up before Christmas there. I think we went above and beyond to keep recycling running, which was great and necessary. But I think in the future, if that issue arises, then we should have some contingency or some contract in place to cover those costs. If we have a budget, that budget is now not being utilized to pay Tanvir or Salmon or anyone that's contributing to the operations. That should be a contracted out. Yes, there's an in-kind level, but when we're lending a truck, like you say, for months on end, or costs that they may incur, that should be recognized as an expense. And it should be as a group, it should be a board ask, not necessarily, hey, we recognize something. It should be a board request to say, we're in trouble, can you help us out? And the 3 groups together should come up with a way of funding that.
Just on that, OCN, they're like, it's not the band, they get X amount from the feds for that. And, they're looking at the idea of, well, if we get 125, we'll give 125, never mind the 85. So they're, John is on.
Oh, I think John has been excellent on the board, and John will be very good with supporting that idea as well.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, one of the other things that has changed from last meeting was adding back the garage administrative position. This was based on CAO direction from a council meeting that happened. So I just want to point that out. One of the things that I wanted to double check on was the CDC budget. I apologize if this is repeating myself, but just to make sure that council is on board with the changes this year to the CDC budget, which is an increase for the summer student and for the additional $10,000 in operating grant.
And the likelihood of
Age.
I don't have that
Meeting.
information in here. It's just things that I'm touching on for changes from last.
And just on the CDC, for speaking on behalf of the CDC board, the likelihood of the summer student really being effective is pretty low. But they just wanted to capture it just in case there is some way to create a project where they can support development, so. So it's in the budget, I'm just not sure it's gonna go, like, don't be surprised next year if it didn't get spent.
So council's good with that?
So just a minute, they put in the budget, they want a summer student, but they have no plans for that summer student.
Oh, no, they have a plan, but I'm just not sure they're gonna meet. I'm not sure what they're asking for, they're gonna be able to get it. Cause it's a pretty high ask for a summer student.
We're not sure they'll be able to find somebody that will have the qualifications.
Yeah.
that pass.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I
So
think
they
it-
might not spend it.
Yeah, so that, just like I said, I'm just giving you a heads up, that it might not, they're not just gonna hire somebody to have somebody sitting in the office, that's all.
It was a fairly nominal.
Yeah, it's like
if I'm
4
not
grand or
mistaken,
something.
But the operating grant was $10,000 over last year was the ask.
And they've asked the increase from all, from the RM as well.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so after all the changes that we talked about at the last meeting, and there's just that portion for the museum redesign that of course won't be in here. Right now, we're at, you go to page 7 of the financial plan, and you'll see a small highlighted section in the lower left-hand corner, which shows you where we're at today. So prior year's mill rate was 57.671. And current years is gonna be 56,447, so a difference in 1.224 decrease in mills, which of course it'll be just 0.224 roughly by the time I add the museum redesign.
I got a couple of questions whenever you guys are ready.
There's like just a couple of things that I've heard discussion, well, actually just one thing mainly that I've heard a discussion around that isn't in here. And it hasn't been discussed in any of the budget meetings, but I've heard discussions around council wanting some artwork done in the front entrance of the civic center as well as the airport. But I haven't been given anything to put in the budget for, so I don't know.
Wasn't that in the budget last year?
The entryway should have already been in the budget from the year prior.
I have, this is
Probably
the first
budgeted
time
10,000.
I ever heard of it was when the discussion was brought up to me.
Really?
First time.
Hmm.
This has never been in the budget.
3 years.
2 years at least. Like we've been talking about it since Mayor Jakes was here. I was positive that there was $10,000 that was already there.
If it was in the capital budget prior years when Mayor Jakes was here, then it may have been removed, but in years going forward,
It wasn't in
because
capital.
it was never done
so-
capital.
0.20
It's just paint.
which is equate to,
0.20, with 40 grand, 50 grand.
so
You want 10,000 in the budget for art?
Yeah,
I still don't have the quote back from her, but.
But we need to have at least
Yeah.
something in there if that's
Yeah.
something that you guys want to move ahead with this year. So I'm understanding it is artwork and the front entrance of the civic center and at the airport.
Wasn't
There's-
this part of the same portion that fell into the plaque for truth and reconciliation? Wasn't it coming from the same pot?
well, I thought it was, I thought we had money in the budget for that.
There was money in the budget last year for truth and reconciliation, and then it was.
And that's where the
But
part fell.
it was coming out of the community enhancement fund, not general operations. And the consensus around council was that it would only be spent when a plan came forward. No plan came forward.
Right.
There's two different presentations that we're talking about on the table right now.
Okay,
Yeah, like the one is surrounding, cleaning up that area and getting a plaque. And then there's a new one that came forward from the Arts Council. These are two separate.
okay.
Like that one
Well,
from Arts Council that came last week, that's something that was brand new, not in that other budget.
Councilor Albert?
could we, we've got basically $40,000 there to come up to the same as last year.
Yes.
Could we put that into community enhancement, something that
Reserve.
Councilor Branch was talking about? So at the time, we might have some money.
Good
We've got a
idea.
Plan for that, we've got a plan for the airport, we've got a plan for that.
Yeah, it's a good idea, yeah. No, that's a
That's
great
the
idea.
start for that part,
Yeah.
but the community enhancement needs to be increased $40,000. That gets the guys organized realistically, comes up with a plan.
And part of that will go into the.
Yeah.
Lobby.
But again, I do recall the truth and reconciliation plaque and artwork fell into one. And Councilor Atkinson's right, the other artwork we talked about the airport is separate. That's That's a different group. But yeah, the artwork that we talked about there tied in with the plaque as part of truth and reconciliation.
Yeah, my apologies, but.
And
it was the
we've never
first time
seen
I
a
ever
plaque
heard
plan.
Any actual plan developed for any of that stuff,
Yeah.
so.
Oh, we actually had a draft of the plaque, you know, where it stands.
That was probably what we talked about in council and I wasn't in those meetings, so.
So I highlighted a couple, oh no, I'll wait till we get to capital. I had a couple questions in here,
Sure,
once we get to there.
I think, you're.
I'm waiting for capital as well.
You're waiting, oh, go ahead with the questions.
Yeah, okay. So then, I know we're under budget, but the holiday decorations. Is that something that we were set on doing? Because if we didn't use all of our decorations from last year, do we need to buy new ones? That was just one question I had in there.
I think so. It's beautification of our community.
If I'm understanding this correctly, we didn't use all the decorations last year because comments were heard around some of them not, so some people didn't like those decorations or something to that extent.
That's what I understood. Read the oversight with that.
Oh, Christmas balls?
Yeah,
Wow. So we were a bit of Gary's house.
Okay. And then the downtown garbage cans, that's in for $40,000 as well.
mhm.
Did we not just get brand new garbage cans 2 years ago? And I know that the hinges and all this and that they're kind of,
They're getting
Not-
broken,
they're, pardon me?
they're getting broken.
Right, 100%,
Yeah.
but we just spent how much money 2 years ago on garbage cans and now we're gonna spend another 40,000, or is this to refurbish?
Refurbish is our
Okay.
first step. We have some quotes from Excel and he's just waiting on the green light for us to.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that one. I had.
They're gonna be nice though, right? Not just, some steel bins or barrel cut off with a chain around it.
Hey, we're getting to
I
the
sure
point
hope
where we're just gonna have a
the
big
bin
bin
for
of
the shack will also fit into that. So,
Yeah, but they're gonna be painted and
yeah.
they'll look nice and look like they're supposed to be in the space.
And for
We're
what?
gonna do some yellow ones for their first.
Geo. And how come I'm drawing a blank? Is this like the raw,
Government services.
okay, so that's a computer replacement
Yeah.
there. So then the phone system,
Yeah,
the phone system replacement, that's at the garage as well?
nope, the phone system
Here.
replacement is throughout the whole organization. That's the one that I proposed. That would
Okay.
lower our bills over a year for $6,600 and there would be a 3-year payback.
Okay, I would
So
need,
Is that going to Wi-Fi calling?
We spend the money up front and, but there's gonna be a 3-year payback and after that, we're gonna save $6,600 a year in phone bills.
I would like to hear.
just wanted to clarify that one, and I was forgetting about where that was sitting. That's all my questions. Yeah, easy ones.
You wanna finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just, hey, do you wanna?
No, no, you go.
I'm sorry, I don't have the information in front of me because of course it's off internet tonight. But so it won't be on that anyway. I had other stuff collected. Why would the radio, $55,000 purchase for new fire radios not be part of capital? I know the discussions earlier in the year, I think Councillor Allen is the one that said, if you need 12 radios, why are you not buying all of them instead of only asking for 5? And now the new information that I have is they're buying all new radios, not just what they're missing, but they want to spend $55,000 on radios. Would that not be a capital cost?
I don't think they're buying all the radios. I thought it was only what they needed.
But there's $55,000 allotted. Radios for the most part are about $2,000 each.
Yeah, and
Which means
that's
replacing
coming
25
from the
radios.
operating side and not the reserve side, but it will still be capitalized.
Okay, I'm just wondering why it would fall into, and I wish I had all the information, but again, it went from, hey, why don't you buy enough radios to replace what you're asking instead of, but now it kind of became, let's replace all our radios.
I don't think it's for replacing all of them. I
But
thought,
$55,000 would replace all the radios. That doesn't buy 12 radios, that buys 25 radios. So that's why I was wondering why it wouldn't now become kind of a capital
I'll
expense.
clarify that with the fire chief.
Because again, that's where we've increased by almost $250,000 in that budget.
Yeah,
Is the things that we've said yes to, I think are a different understanding than what's actually happened.
okay.
When Councillor Allen said, hey, why don't you buy the radios you need rather than just the few? It now turned into, well, good, I'll just buy all of them then. And I don't think that's
Okay, I'll clarify that with them and see. So that could be a small change for the next step.
And I know I made a request when he was here presenting, he talked about buying a sea can, and I suggested increasing that amount. Because if he's planning on stacking them,
Yeah.
I know the ground there
Yeah.
will need remedy as well, and he should look at foundation and things like that. None of that work's provided, and I'm concerned that he's gonna say, hey, we bought a sea can, but we can't do anything with it because we need another $20,000 to now install.
I thought he mentioned that cost included foundation work.
No, because he brought 12,000 originally, that buys the sea can and gets it on site and connecting them.
Okay,
But I said you may want to explore what it's sitting on currently, because the current ones are sinking. You're not gonna want to just add another sea can on top. I said you should look at expanding and adding more money as a request to prepare that. And it hasn't, so I'm concerned that he's now gonna come back and ask for possibly another $15,000 to make it work, right? And we don't, and everyone's gonna go along with it, because we won't want a sea can just sitting there not.
Well, I think, it wouldn't bother you for 1 year.
But it's just there. But check on it.
I'll check on it, yeah.
Just because it was part of discussion and nothing changed in that number, so again, I just want to make sure that we don't get the surprise mid-year, say, sorry, we can't do what we wanted to.
Yeah.
We get far too much of that.
Yeah, and in theory, the reserves could support the additional work required for the foundation if that did come up partway through the year.
Very good.
Yeah,
Sam's gotta come back though,
so,
because he's probably gonna only be, crack sealing the roads on, but I thought that was on capital at one time. And I don't see any money earmarked for that unless it's tied into the big budget for paving. So Sam, I'm just mentioning, I don't see on the budget anything with crack sealing the roads. Was on the budget before. Is it in the budget for this year?
Yeah.
Because we have to protect that road. Like that has to get done this year.
Yeah, we did a little bit last year. There was some installation issues that we noticed. We have a meeting actually with our crew tomorrow or Friday to kind of go over some different plans. We already have all the material required of the equipment, so it'll just be in-house.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure that, because I used to see it as a line item a couple of years ago and I didn't notice it, so.
Yeah, there's quite a few extension cords on. That's what it looks like on the roads, right? It's a bunch of extensions.
So there's the ones with the arena hell, the ones.
What about, so I look at the carry forwards and I've seen card lock on there, maintenance training plan,
mhm.
solid waste disposal ground. And those have been on there for a long, long time. What's the likelihood those are gonna get done this year? And if we don't really think they're gonna get done, let's just remove them from the budget.
Card lock should be installed. We're just waiting on components that we can get delivered for winter. So we're just giving them some equipment numbers and stuff, unit numbers to put into the system. They've asked us some technical questions about the communications between the unit, the card lock itself, and how to do reconciliation. We're waiting on our IT provider, 365, to provide some answers, so they're gonna be ready to go as soon as the ground loads.
And the total estimated cost wasn't $100,000, that project's in the 200 some $1,000 range, right? So is that?
Yeah.
Maintenance training plan and all that stuff, you think you're gonna make that happen this year?
Yes, there's a couple different options we're looking for that, so we have all the equipment at all the facilities identified. So we're paying for that, so just a matter of how we're gonna move forward with that, if we wanna do a training plan manual, or if we wanna just hire a company to come in and provide training as they do preventative maintenance on a quarterly basis, basically.
And the pool dehumidifier,
Tenders could make a vote for them.
and then I have two more questions, the engineering work for bag shop, is that a line item supposed to be here? Because I think council asked that we didn't want that to be as part of the paving program, but we wanted to have some money spent. So we know what we need to do in the future, is that on here somewhere?
Yeah, that's so that we were in talks with Maple Leaf to do some test holes for the company that gets the winning bid for the paving. Do some test holes for us on site and make the recommendations to how we should move forward with all.
Should we use more than Maple Leaf though, or a paving company and maybe a geotech company that would come in and actually drill holes and actually do a real survey?
So with, well, I mean, back and forth with Maple Leaf, I think it's gonna depend on what they see when they arrive, so, if doing some coring is recommended by them, then we'll bring forward, that to council.
But that wouldn't be until like probably the fall, right?
The coring,
Well, the recommendation will be,
correct,
they
and
wouldn't do it until they get here to do their own work, right?
well, whoever the
Whoever the winning
winning
bids, yeah.
yeah.
So we wouldn't get that certain information till the fall. Is that gonna give us enough time to act on it before the next season so we can do veg up?
Like for 2026.
No, yeah.
Yeah, if we have the money, if, it just depends on what their outcome will be, so if it's just, you know, go ahead and shave and pave, we can find, then we can do that. But if the recommendation comes back, so if we have to rip the road down 3-4 feet, dig out all the organics, then rebuild the impact base, that's gonna be a significant, cost, so we'll bring that back to council in the fall for discussion in terms of how you guys would like to move forward with that.
I bet is that what's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's like that too. I'm not good words in your mouth now, but I'm gonna assume you'd rather know sooner than later.
Yeah.
Which is the whole point. So instead of waiting till the fall to find out that answer, we're not getting sooner.
If the project can't be completed this calendar year, I don't understand what that relative time corruption now is.
You're ready for 2026.
I think we're ready for 2026, it's a bit of financial question. I don't think it's gonna be, an engineering related question, but we just strictly financial, that one.
So if the point is that we do have to tear it down, find out in the fall, we'll still be ready to do that in the spring. Yeah.
My only thinking was, Sam, is I agree, like, you know, we don't wanna spend the money any earlier than we have to spend it. But my thinking was if we did some of the engineering and if there was a quick fix where we could actually, while the paving company was in town, that there's areas that we have learned from this survey that we could fix up and maybe patch without having to do the whole thing, which is unlikely. Be nice to not be able to do some work there.
The shade would be like trigger, also maybe they'll do that batch out of all the little costs.
To remove the humps, possibly, yes.
That would be convenience for the
So
intern.
in the tender, we're asking for some pricing for the shavings, that becomes a middle, sort of middle ground, solution.
Was the,
So my question was the engineering in the, so yes, it is, not to get into the details on how, so perfect. And then the last thing I have was maintenance service truck wheel loader, increasing fleet or decreasing fleet?
The wheel loader would increase fleet. Until we put the other units to sleep. I thought that was actually pulled to be on service here,
And the mechanic service truck, that was the other one you had?
Yeah,
and that one we also pulled.
so these aren't in the budget?
The mechanic service truck, a little over, yeah, they're on the capital budget.
Council wasn't in favor of them during our presentation at the time, so
I didn't remember the wheel loader, I thought.
I thought we
the
said,
mechanic truck
the
was-
last meeting we
Yeah.
had was okay with maintenance truck.
Yeah,
I have from the
the
meeting.
loader for sure we pulled off, saying that
Okay.
we need to do more work on it, so.
that's what I didn't understand, the wheel loader. Okay. And that's all I think they had, just let me have a quick scan of my notes here. I just one other quick question, I know we're already over budget, other revenue, what is other revenue again?
You're looking at page 1.
Yeah,
It's a mixture of what we collect from the wellness center, museum, the airport, all of our revenue generating sections, and then grants and
so it increased by like $250,000 this year, eh?
it's very possibly, I couldn't tell you the details off the top of my head.
No, I'm just curious what the line item is, it just, it sticks out.
It's a mixture of a whole, if you look on page 2, you'll get the details.
I did look at that. Perfect, thank you. Anybody have anything else for budget? So appreciate, all the efforts and work that you've put in so far. What would be the next steps for us, as council to support you and the staff to move the budget forward?
So as long as everyone is in consensus after I make these changes, we'll basically be at the same rate we were last year. So everyone is good with that?
Yeah.
No additional funds you want to put away into reserves or anything like that?
Not too sure, I guess.
Okay, because we're trying to get the special service levies put into 2025. I am wondering if council would like to request an extension from the province and we move our public hearing, which is currently dated for, I think it's April 26th.
Would we wait to answer that question after our hearing tomorrow?
Yes,
I think regardless, we probably need an extension. Do
no,
we not?
Not
No.
necessarily.
If we don't change it.
it
So
depends,
we're
it solely depends
100%
on
right?
what
Very
happens
likely it's
tomorrow.
gonna change.
It will depend on what happens tomorrow,
Yeah.
so we can answer that question tomorrow, that's perfectly fine. All right, thank you.
Is there anything else for Laura?
Not for me.
No? We get a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. And we'll go jump right into the next meeting right off the hop here.
I think we have the.
You have to restart the meeting?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.